I've been dealing with death for a long time, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm no stranger to death.
It's only two things that come with the street, jail or death. And you gotta understand that I was ready for jail or death at any moment. I was afraid for my life in Chicago. I moved to LA to get away from that.
When you hear the words Chicago drill, who's the first person that comes to mind? Chief Keef, Lil Durk, King Von, or if you're well versed in Chicago's raw and gripping sound, you might say FBG Duck. These are all rappers who once played allegiance to a Black Disciples faction terrorizing the streets of Chicago and the South Side, or in Duck's case, a GD faction. And the same way all these rappers from the South Side managed to accumulate a ton of money, relaying the pain they had experienced through music on the east side of Chicago, there's one individual who had a similar story to your King Von's and Lil Durk's, and his name is Herbert Wright III, now known as G Herbo. Hailing from Terrortown, specifically residing on 78th and 79th in Essex.
The east side is technically the south side as well. Like, it's kind of a new invention to say the east side. Herb's generation is the first generation to be like, this is the east side.
And just like all these names held in high esteem from the south side, G Herbo is no stranger to the trauma behind losing your friends at the hands of gang violence.
At age 17, you had lost 10 to 15 of your close friends. That is years ago now, and I imagine that number has risen. How many would you say now?
Now it's well over, it's over 50 to be honest, because my project, my cover, man, is me holding the American flag. And for each star, I have the face of one of my deceased partners, and it equaled up to 50 stars for every state.
And as rappers like King Von would come back to their hood and split a portion of their earnings with their closest friends who endured the same pain he did, in G Herbo's case, he would distance himself from those who stood beside him as they ducked bullets from their enemies.
I was afraid for my life in Chicago. I moved to LA to get away from that shit.
Like all that, all my niggas straight, all my niggas jail eating. How you, for it's your niggas in jail starving right now. You forgot about it because you in Beverly Hills.
And he would go as far as rapping about how he wouldn't die for his hood because No Limit gang members had already died for his hood.
I love my hood. You think I'm die for that shit? All them niggas already died for that shit. How the fuck you gonna say this shit about your homies for me? You say I love my hood, but you think I'm die for that shit. You already in Hollywood. Now you just making shit to rap about this and shit on us. He said, candlelight niggas out there sneak this and on me crying and shit. You know we out here fucked up down. You putting this shit in rap, getting on us.
Allow me to tell you a story about how G Herbo escaped death on countless occasions while his friends lost their lives to the streets and how he turned his back on No Limit.
I'm not responsible. That's all I was really hoping, bro. I'm able to sleep at night comfortably and know that it's not my fault, but I'ma still feel like it's my fault because I can't live life. Nothing I do, if I get a Grammy, an Oscar, I must think about my little brother, gang. I ain't gonna lie to you, you know what I'm saying? My life can't be complete without him. I ain't gonna lie to you, it don't feel complete. It's never gonna feel complete without him. That's the truth. I ain't gonna never be able to feel complete without him, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. That just don't make sense to me. It don't add up.
Unlike a lot of rappers who grew up in the gang-infested neighborhoods and essentially inherited the hatred against the opposing gangs, G Herbo's introduction to the war in Terrortown was a little peculiar to most, because in Cairo's words, G Herbo was never originally a No Limit member. He'd only start rapping No Limit after meeting Lil Baby at a youth center at the age of 14.
Met Herb at that youth center, man. Like when we was younger, like he used to probably hang out on another block. And then like when he was like 14, he started coming here.
And just as G Herbo would start hanging out with No Limit on 78th and Essex, on April 2009, a No Limit gang member known as Vito was selling drugs on Black Mob's territory. And in the midst of all that, a fight would break out amongst No Limit members and Black Mob members, which led to Vito allegedly unloading shots towards Black Mob members on 75th and Koufax before fleeing the scene and heading back to 79th in Essex. Then one day later, on April the 27th, a Black Mob member known as Boo Man would drive to 78th and Essex and confront Vito in regard to the shooting on 79th and Koufax. And as the argument got heated, he'd pull out his strap and unload multiple shots towards Vito, hitting his back, then fleeing the scene. G Herbo and No Limit members would forever immortalize Vito, bringing up his name in songs and in conversation, as G Herbo would rap in 2015's Computers remix about how he and No Limit members dropped the fives for Vito, a direct diss to the Black P-Stones over on 75th and Phillips. And you could find videos online of No Limit members merching things on Vito's name.
On Vito, this nigga get paid.
Velo's alleged shooter Booman from Black Mob would be apprehended on the 11th of January 2011 and is currently serving a 60-year sentence in the Cook County Jail for his role in Velo's passing. And this would be the first escalation in a decade-long feud in Terrortown between No Limit and Black Mob. And whether G Herbo, Cairo, Mad Max, and the No Limit entourage knew it or not, more lives would be lost in the streets of Terrortown, with the music relaying these unfortunate events playing a major role in the inevitable split between G Herbo and his friends on 78th and Essex. On April the 13th, 2010, almost a year following Vito's passing, No Limit gang member Faison Robinson, known as G Fazo, was participating in a dice game on the 2900 block of East 79th Street when chaos broke out and Fazo would be struck by multiple bullets to his back and he would be pronounced late at South Shore Hospital at around 9:50 p.m. Rumor has it that No Limit rivals Cutthroat from Lakeside may have had a hand in Fazo's demise, and 1 year following Fazo's passing, his friends and family would host a memorial in Fazo's honor, and at around 9 p.m, a black car would pull up on East 79th Street, roll down the window, and indiscriminately fire into the crowd gathered in the parking lot to celebrate Fazo's life. 4 men would be wounded in this incident, with 1 man suffering a wound to the head, but would fortunately survive. And as per usual, G Herbo would commemorate G Fazo's memory in his music, dropping Road to Fazo Land in August 2013, and on February the 17th, on Fazo's birthday, G Herbo would drop Welcome to Fazo Land, a mixtape littered with references to the late G Fazo. And on his press run for his 2020 masterpiece, PTSD, G Herbo would go into detail about the trauma he had endured in Terrortown, which led him to being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I'm just showing you, I know 50 people that's there. This is my real life. This shit I'm thinking about every day when I go see my kids, go to the studio, and I'm functioning. But there's people out here that's not functioning. I just brought you into my life. It ain't like, oh yeah, let me just show you. You think I wanted to think about 50 people there?
Live well. I couldn't live there, bro. I couldn't live there. Niggas trying to keep me. I couldn't.
You couldn't be around her because
I couldn't be around the person who I love the most in my life because of where she lived.
Right.
And she ain't had no choice. She on Section 8.
Right.
She can't move. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that shit bothers me still to this day, bro. You feel? And I don't want.
But in Cairo's eyes, it was all a boatload of shit because G Herbo apparently didn't even know J Fazo on an intimate level before his passing.
I went to school with these niggas. You ain't even go to our grammar school, for. So you can't even relate to what we doing. You seeing niggas from a distance. You see your big cousin. I'm talking to Fazo and them, and you like, oh yeah, Fazo, what's up, big bro? He on shit like that. Like, you don't even know Fazo all the way private. This sentimental value shit, but he all in interviews using this shit as a PTSD press run.
Following G Fazo's passing, more young men would lose their lives in the streets of Terrortown as Hakeem Graham, a Black Mob member, would pass away on June the 6th, 2011, which was believed to be retaliation for Vito's passing at the hands of Black Mob. But tragedy would strike again on February the 20th, 2012, as Richard Miller and Jermaine Skides, both Lakeside members, would drive up to the 2500 block of East 79th Street, where they spotted a barrage of No Limit members posted on the block and would unload a barrage of shots at the gang. And once the gun smoke had evaporated, 56-year-old Gregory Clincy and 19-year-old Jamal Harris, a No Limit gang member known as Rock, were struck by bullets and would sadly pass away at the hospital. No Limit would rename the block to Rock Block to honor Rock, but 6 months after this tragic incident, G Herbo and a bunch of No Limit members were standing on the 7800 block of South Essex Avenue, with a total of 13 members being hit, ranging from the age of 14 to 28 years old. G Herbo was hit in the foot and would elaborate on how a bullet went through his head during this incident.
Now you've been involved in the shooting before.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Can you talk about that situation?
I mean, the situation with me getting shot is really just, I was in the streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happened, that's what come with the streets. Enemies pulled up shooting, I got hit. It happens.
Where did you get hit?
I got hit actually in the foot, like, it was minor.
How many other people got around you during that incident?
Actually, it was kind of big. It was like 8 of us got shot.
Well, you got shot in the foot.
Yeah, I got shot too. I got shot in the foot before, and that shit.
Okay. Well, you almost got shot in the head.
Wasn't about nothing. Yeah, the bullet went like through my head. Like I had my head on like on some Swiss Beats type, and the bullet like went through my head, like through the top of my head. You know what I'm saying?
Following the shooting on Essex that left 8 people wounded. On August the 5th, 2012, Lil Herb and Lil Baby would drop their collaborative smash hit, Kill Shit, where they would rap about knowing a couple of people willing to go and drill the ops and leaving their loved ones traumatized, how their gang No Limit has been running and gunning for 30 years straight, and how they weren't gonna stop dropping bodies in retaliation for their fallen member, Rock. Kill Shit was such a huge success for the No Limit members over on Essex Avenue, even sitting at 53 million views at the time of this recording, and would have Toronto rap legend Drake singing along to G Herbo's Kill Shit.
When it's drama time, when I'm on the with the llamas flying, leave these little boys all traumatized. 150, I'm really with it. I drop his and they forget it. I'm a man around my side of town, might see a.
And whether No Limit goons knew it or not, the success of Kill would mark the beginning of the end in terms of the relationship members like Cairo, Mad Max, and Mainski shared with G Herbo and Lil Baby. Because as Herb and Baby would continue seeing success following the release of Kill, they would distance themselves further away from the streets of Terrortown and the No Limit Muskgeon Boys, the ones called their brothers. But before we get to that, I have to relay the story of the McDonald's incident in 2013, which led to an enormous number of young men losing their lives in the streets of Eastside Chicago and escalating the war in Terrortown to heights never seen before. And this part of the story involves the gangster disciples from Lakeside, known as KTS. KTS, or Kill to Survive, is a gang from the east side of Chicago made up of vice lords and gangster disciples, infamously known for walking around the op block with their camera out and terrorizing anybody they come across. And this was called their No Lacking series, making it be known to their followers that they'd be lurking on No Limit's turf with Lil Herb and his entourage nowhere to be found. And on one of these vlogs, they'd make their way to the McDonald's on 79th and Essex. And as they approached the McDonald's, occupied by No Limit gang members, Posto, a notable name in the story, would ask KTS Vaughn to lower the No Limit gang members outside the McDonald's so he could pop them. And as they walked into the McDonald's, KTS Dre would approach Cairo from No Limit, pressing him against the wall and trying to force him to say Gropo, a No Limit member that had recently passed away. And when Cairo refused, he would get punched in the face by KTS Dre. And whether KTS Dre knew it or not, it was this very incident on that godforsaken October night in 2012 that would spark a bloody feud between his gang and No Limit, which would culminate in him getting shot 64 times while leaving the Cook County Jail 9 years later. But before we get to that incident, KTS Dre would lose a lot of his friends and brothers at the hands of G Herbo, Mad Max, and the No Limit crew. And the first casualty for the cutthroat gang would be Posto, the same young man who asked Dre and Vaughn to lower the No Limit members outside so he could blast them. He'll post various videos on the internet antagonizing No Limit and G Herbo.
Y'all know who it is. Posto. On back. MMG. No world. That is. I ain't never heard of you T-Star rapping shit. I ain't never heard of you T-Star rapping shit.
And on November the 23rd, 2013, while at a party, 18-year-old Tayshawn Anderson suffered a wound to the head and would pass away. Rumor has it, Crazy James from No Limit was the man responsible, and he would rap on his song, It's Real, telling Posto to pick his face up. G Herbo would join in on the disrespect, mocking Posto's passing on Twitter and rapping his smoking on a Posto pack on Zico pack with Rondo number 9, and even mentioning Posto on his famous 2018 freestyle, Who Run It. Juice WRLD would also see it fit to join in on the disrespect as he started clicking up with the members from No Limit after signing to Lil Baby's Grade A Records.
Smoking on Katie Pack and Posto and Mr. the most.
And when the news of Posto's demise got back to KTS Dre and Vaughn, the Cutthroat members would be seen spinning the block looking to avenge Posto's passing.
Out here, man. Posto gang, man. We were fast as what now? You talking about? You don't want no McDonald's. McDonald's.
And as Lil Herb and Lil Baby were receiving nationwide recognition as they continued relaying the dangers that were all too common in Terrortown, while still dissing deceased ops like Posto on their joint collaboration Ain't Heard About You. In the early hours of August 10th, 2013, Lil Herb, Cairo, and various other NLMB members had their cameras out and posing for Instagram on 79th and Essex.
Squad out here for my boy, No Limit George. Happy birthday to my nigga George. Thanks. You got the Gucci watch on. Yeah, you. The net. $25 watch on that, man. What up, fool? Let me get some. What? Say something to the camera.
Love Instagram. Hey man, the snowman, you feel me?
And at 4:30 a.m., one of the members, Jacoby Herring, known as Kobe, would depart from the crew and head home. But unbeknownst to him, Shooter Shells and another Black Mob member named AWOL would sneak up from behind and unload multiple shots at Kobe, leaving him unresponsive. G Herbo would detail this incident on his song Sacrifice, rapping.
Yeah, my morning, August 10th. We was on the block shoot dice, yeah, that was when Kobe went.
Bro, we was right here shooting dice for my Kobe and shit. So like 4 in the morning. We was out here, I'm right here, on point with the lick. Holding them right there, shooting dice. No, they like right here. Bro walked off, went to the crib, fuck. We steady hitting shots. We ain't even know this bro getting shot at another shit, for it's 4 in the morning. You hear me, folks? It's 4 in the morning. I'm steady hearing them bitches. We like, damn, somebody blew down. We steady hearing them bitches. Then I just jump up like, fuck, that's Kobe, boy.
And while building off the success they had reaped from their collaborative Chirac anthem Kill, they would both use the momentum they'd garnered to catapult their music into the mainstream, as Nicki Minaj would call up G Herbo to feature on her grimy 2014 single Chirac, which was dropped at a time where the city of Chicago had witnessed as many as 4,265 murders spanning from 2003 to 2011, compared to Iraq, which had totaling 4,422 between 2003 and 2011, and Afghanistan, which had 2,166 members. And as people would turn on the news every night at the sight of the war in Chicago raging on, the music coming out of Chirac would paint a picture of young men fighting for survival and avenging their deceased friends who fell victim to gun violence in those gang-ridden streets. And it wasn't any different for G Herbo on his appearance on Nicki Minaj's Chirac, rapping about how he stays on rock block with his strap, referencing the dangers of Terrortown and how you'll make the news if you play a fool, and how he knows a couple of guys ready to ride for him and put people 6 feet deep. The release of Chirac alongside Nicki Minaj would catapult G Herbo's music career into the mainstream, and he would even tweet thanking Nicki Minaj for changing his life. But G Herbo wasn't the only one reaping the benefits of garnering recognition from his music. His No Limit partner Lil Baby had dropped a multitude of successful mixtapes comprising of Free Crack 2, and Free Crack 3 from 2013 to 2015, featuring big-name rappers like Birdman, Future, and Chicago's very own King Louie. His 3-part Free Crack installment would manifest into a recording deal with RAC Records, which led to Lil Baby formally distancing himself from his brothers over on Essex Avenue and focusing rather on the music, which obviously ruffled a couple of feathers.
It's about that time, man. I think I'm gonna move to LA, New York, or Atlanta, man. I've been in Chicago too damn much, man. I'm tired of riding around my gun all day. Take straight up. Can't keep taking them chances, man. It's a matter of time till they pull my goof out. You can get away with it 200 times. It's gonna be that one time, man. I can't keep riding around with illegal shit.
And G Herbo would drop just bars, rapping about how someone got on and left his brothers behind, and how he wouldn't do the same. Cairo would reference this in a future interview.
So now it's just her left, you know? Baby already said he's separating himself. He on some commercial shit already. And he ain't even hit BET. So now it's just her left. Now we rooting for him. He in the trenches with us every day. He don't got the money yet. He made the song Just Bars, Sneak This Baby. I Would Never Leave My Brothers. He got on and he forgot his homie. Threw that shit in the rap. Sneak This song. So now we like, yeah, bro really for the people type shit. You know?
And while Lil Baby chose to soften his image for commercial reasons, Lil Herb would stay in Terrortown and continue relaying the events unfolding in the war on the east side of Chicago. And as Lil Herb and Lil Baby were receiving nationwide recognition as they continued relaying the dangers that were all too common in Terrortown, while still dissing deceased ops like Posto on their joint collaboration Ain't Heard About You, back on Lakeside, KTS top savage KTS Vaughn was nursing a wound he had suffered in August 2014, and on his song Street Life that featured a wounded KTS Vaughn cooking up on a stovetop while rapping about avenging his deceased fellow cutthroat member, Posto. He'd rap about how he got caught lacking, but not every shooter is a killer, and he would diss Kobe, a No Limit member who got shot by Black Mob's shooter shells, an incident we covered in the previous story. And in April 2015, KTS Von would drop his biggest song to date, titled Kill to Survive, featuring him wearing a hoodie with the names of all his deceased rivals. He'd rap about sliding through Terror Town while putting ops in the sky. And on June the 22nd, KTS Von would go on social media and exchange threats with No Limit member Chopper. But little did he know, No Limit members would soon catch him lurking, because on June the 23rd, 2015, reports state KTS Von received a call from somebody and would proceed to leave a friend's house and stand on the 7500 block of South Ellis Avenue, where a car would drive by and unload 18 shots at KTS Von, leaving him deceased at the scene. And while various KTS members would mourn the loss of KTS Von, back on 79 and Essex, No Limit Chopper would post a video mocking KTS Von and rapping Von's lyrics from his song Street Life.
If he ain't for Posto, it wouldn't be right. He should've Posto and kept his pipe. But now he up there for the Venus.
Following all the tragedies that had befallen Lil Herb in the streets of Terror Town, from losing his friends to violence, multiple visits to the hospital as a result of gunshot wounds, and constantly risking his life in the streets of Terror Town, knowing there were people who wanted to see him deceased, in September 2015, an escape route from all the terrors of the east side of Chicago would manifest in a recording deal with Cinematic Music Group. This would present an opportunity for Lil Herb to finally put his gang ties behind him and make legitimate money in the music industry. And in the wake of this recording deal, on September the 3rd, Lil Herb would officially change his stage name to G Herbo and drop his first single under his new record label titled No Limit, littered with references to his gang, letting it be known that regardless of the success he had seen in the rap game up until that point, he was still rapping No Limit to the fullest. And later that month, he'd summoned his No Limit counterpart, Lil Baby, off his Ballin' Like Kobe mixtape titled Don't Worry, where he pays homage to all his friends he had lost in the streets of Chicago and would make a vow to sign all his friends from No Limit to his imprint 150 Dream Team, a promise that was never fulfilled.
He always just saw motherfuckers' dreams, so like, offered to make sure phone them straight. He called me. He said, Cairo, you want a 150 chain? I said, yeah, if you grab it, I'll take it. You know, I'll wear that motherfucker. People has been getting like 15 150 chains in like 2018. They passed it out to the guys. He never did that.
He'd go on his first mainstream interview, being invited to the Breakfast Club, and would tell Charlamagne how gangbanging for the young man in Chicago has changed from how Larry Hoover's generation used to run things.
Why is Chicago so violent, man?
It's misguidance, you know, like everybody all over the place, like literally, even the street dudes. It was once upon a time where street dudes had morals and certain principles and think and move a certain way, like they don't have that no more.
He'd emphasize the importance in the decision he made in moving away from the inner city of Chicago to avoid the war that took so many of his friends away from him.
But did you move out the crib? Did you move away from Chicago, or?
I moved away from where it's going down at, you know, like the inner city, you feel me, but I'm still in Chicago.
And how he used to cry himself to sleep because he knew people were waiting for him at his grandmother's doorstep with the sole intention of killing him.
I cried a lot of nights being in the streets. What's going on? My mother crying. If I see my mother cry, that's gonna make me cry. You feel me? Like, that's what comes with being in the streets, and a lot of people don't understand. You never hear nobody waiting outside your mother, your grandmother's crib.
He followed this up by dropping his debut album Humble Beast, which landed at number 8 on the Billboard 200, giving him his first taste of mainstream chart success. And while G Herbo had a lot to celebrate at this point in his life, back in Terror Town, the war kept raging on, and one of Herbo's sworn enemies, who was responsible for Kobe's passing, would soon meet his fate. On April the 5th, 2017, Shooter Shells would drop one of the most disrespectful tracks to come out of the east side of Chicago titled The Death of 150, a direct diss at G Herbo and his imprint 150 Dream Team, where he tells G Herbo if he sees him on Black Mob territory, he was gonna put him on the news, and College Kid was gonna have to make a video about him and put him on YouTube. He'd diss G Herbo's friend Kobe, a case in which he was the alleged shooter in, and he'd end the song by dissing G Herbo, Vito, Kobe, and various other No Limit members who had passed. And only 3 months after dropping The Death of 150, gaining recognition around the city, and doing interviews with SAC TV, Shooter Shells would go on social media to tell his followers he was determined on taking music seriously on the back of the success of his No Limit diss track, The Death of 150. But what he didn't know was the video may have exposed his surroundings and the exact neighborhood in which he resided.
Shooter motherfucking Shells, Mr. Death of 150. Yeah, I know I be catching y'all stupid, you know. But you know, everybody telling me to leave that other shit alone, just focus on his music. And they right. So I'm gonna do that, you know. Stay out the way.
And unfortunately, on July the 10th, 2017, Shooter Shells was on his way to court to support a friend when 3 men jumped out of a white Nissan, all wearing black hoodies, and they would fire a barrage of shots at Shooter Shells, striking him 10 times in his temple and 4 times in his body. He was pronounced deceased at 9:40 a.m. The perpetrators were believed to be Marley, Mainski, and Mad Max, all members of NLMB. And when news got back to G Herbo of what had happened to his most formidable rival from Black Mob, he would hop on IG Live and had this to say.
Somebody just comment on my live talking about RP Shooter Shells, man, that.
And on 21 Questions with Toronto Demon Top 5, G Herbo would rap.
Don't know who to tell, don't ask questions about my ops, don't know Shooter Shells.
But back on Terrortown, Herbo's main rival, who was still alive, KTS Dre, was still committed to staying in Chicago, doing bids in and out of Cook County Jail, and adamant on dissing his ops.
Man, I ain't gonna be nowhere but in the rack. I'm over east, Mo Block soldier. We ain't shooting from no car, we just trying to get close. Talking about, am I in the rack? I just have court in Cook County today. You talking about?
Bro, you need to leave the city, unless they gonna get you. Sooner or later. Sooner than later, y'all. I'm tired of this shit. Come take me out this shit, cause I can't take it no more. Y'all be pissing me off with that stuff. Y'all been threatening me for 20 years, bro. It's y'all.
He dropped NLMBK Part 2 with lyrics aimed at G Herbo, saying he's still on the block, unlike these rappers who act gangster. He'd go on social media rejoicing at the news of Juice WRLD's passing because he had dissed Poster so much in his music.
The fuck? We don't care who like that. Juice WRLD. Hey, look, on my mama, the whole world was crying like, oh, Juice OD'd. I swear to God, I was on the floor laughing.
And while doing all this woofing on social media, behind the scenes, KTS Dre was on house arrest, fighting a case where he had wrestled an officer for a firearm after a traffic stop, which violated his bond conditions, and he'd be sent back to the Cook County Jail in June. And while in jail, he'd go on social media vowing 2021 was going to be his year and he'd be rich, while all his ops would be stuck in the gang-infested streets of Chicago.
My life, boy. Hey, look, real life. Hey, I'll to the side, I'm gonna be rich as hell next year, for 2021, I'm gonna be rich as hell. Hey, look, it's supposed to be 2020, I'm supposed to be rich as hell, but I keep going to jail because motherfuckers keep snitching because y'all man, y'all scary.
Hey, never snitch, never switch.
Never snitch, but look though, 2021 though, we finna be rich as hell, y'all finna be as hell. Y'all finna be shit.
And after a stroke of luck, his girlfriend would put up $5,000 to bail him out of the Cook County Jail and remain on house arrest. But unfortunately, KTS Dre wouldn't even make it home that night because at 8:50 p.m., 2 cars would pull up on the 2700 block of South California Avenue and unload a barrage of shots towards KTS Dre as he walked out of the Cook County Jail, hitting him 64 times. And this is what the autopsy looked like.